record. There we go. Welcome, everybody. We are on chapter 37 of Likutei Amarim in Lessons in Tanya. Um, so you have Lessons in Tanya, which is commentary on the Tanya. Then we have a section in the Tanya called Likutei Amarim, which is where we're at, which is where we are at, which is the first section. And we're in chapter 37 of that section. There are 5 sections. We're on the first section, chapter 37. And we're about, I don't know, halfway, 2/3 of the way through this chapter. Israel will see eye in eye. It's translated as eye to eye, but in the Hebrew, and the way I've seen other commentaries and the like, eye in eye, would be a better translation. The human eye will see truth of godliness just as the supernal eye sees it, just as they saw at the giving of the Torah. So you're going to see through the eye of Hashem and vice versa. Like the Pirkei Avot says, your will be his will, and his will be your, or excuse me, your will become his will, and his will be your will. So it's not, oh, I just gotta, okay, I'll have to listen to that later. So I would say the Avodah Zarah view would be, from what I've learned in Torah, that face to face is actually like an Avodah Zarah type thing. Like there has to be, from their point of view, that Hashem is over here and then the person is over there, and they look at each other. That seems, everything that I've studied and we've studied together, that doesn't seem right. That seems like Avodah Zarah. Why? Because it says Hashem is over there and I'm over here. In actuality, you want to be one. Hashem is one, his name is one, and you want to be one with him. And there's a mitzvah called Achdut Hashem, the oneness of Hashem, which Yisrael is commanded in. And then your will become his will. And vice versa. It's so that you are one. And so instead of looking at another eye to eye, it's actually, you're stepping into Hashem. You're stepping into the eye in eye. You're like a schematic. You're like a what are those laser 3D images called? Not a lithograph, but oh, they're prismatic. But anyways, we are like that. We are just a formation, an image of Hashem. And when we step into it, that's when we truly unite with the human being, of being actually human, which Yisrael is commanded in 613 mitzvot. Israel will see eye to eye, ein ba'ein. The human eye will see the truth of godliness just as the supernal eye sees it, just as they saw at the giving of the Torah. So, so this is a big deal. So when Yisrael is a microcosm. Things happen to Yisrael, which is a microcosm for Geula, the redemption, for the Messianic era, you might call it. So when Har Sinai, and Matan Torah happened, when Mount Sinai happened, and the giving of the Torah happened, Yisrael saw Hashem eye in eye. And it was like, they had these moments that have never been before, but it will be in the times of Mashiach, of which it is written, you showed yourself so that it be known that God is the Lord. Literally, the 4-letter divine name is Elohim, despite the concealment of the 4-letter divine name, which denotes God's limited power, by the name Elohim, which signifies God's self-limitation. It is the former that still pervades all existence. There is nothing else besides him. This little paragraph, excuse me, I got that dust from work in my throat. This paragraph is a microcosm of Shar HaYehud V'Emunah, basically, which is Hashem is Elohim. And we say Kim because it's a hey here, and we want to protect the name. We don't want to mispronounce it and things of that nature. So we say Elohim, and Hashem is Elohim. In other words, the four-letter name of Yud K Vav K, right? That Yud K Vav K is Elohim. So why are they two different? Because the Yud K Vav K is what pervades everything, and everything is one in that name. But from our perspective, that name is concealed, and it is concealed in the name Elohim. So using Gevura, the side of Gevura, Elohim conceals. Well, I should say Hashem conceals, and it's called Elohim. I hope that kind of makes sense. I'm trying to keep that quick and simple. But this is a big deal within not just Chabad Hasidus, but really to knowing Hashem, to knowing God and how he reveals things in the world. So for instance, in some religions, they think that God has to like come down, like he's up in the heavens and he comes down. That is not a accurate depiction, or that he has to be born or whatever. That's again, that's avodah zarah. What it is that Hashem has to be revealed, and he's revealed in all things, not just in a like a certain special person or something like that, or persons or whatever various religions make. He's supposed to be revealed in all things, in all human beings, and we do that through the Torah and mitzvot. That's why the Torah and the mitzvot are so important, and why Yisrael is commanded. They are commanded. So they are like they're like the Navy SEALs of the world. They are like the top, like I don't know if Navy SEAL is the right term or not, but like that's a thing I can think of. Um, they through the merit of Avraham, they um, inherited. It's now an inheritance for them. While people like us, we are still on the side of having it have to be merited um, through that Torah and mitzvahs walk. And we start that through understanding Hashem, so that we're not in avodah zarah. This right here, this understanding, and forgive me if I didn't explain it right, but like we have to understand that to get out of avodah zarah, because if not, we will constantly be in that realm or that domain of, oh, we have to see God eye to eye, and I can't wait until God comes. Um, because he will never come that way. That's not how it works. Rather, Hashem is concealed. He's already here. We have to know that Hashem is already here. He's just concealed, and we have to reveal. And how do we do that? Through Torah and mitzvot. And for non-Jews, the number one thing is to get out of avodah zarah, your mind out of it, physically out of it, and grow in the Sheva mitzvot, the seven commandments that were given to Noah. And that's like bare minimum. And we can grow from there. Um, there's nothing else. Okay, no, there's nothing else besides him. Okay, there really is nothing else. We are just emanations of him, to the point where we're not really even emanations. It really is just Hashem. We only think of ourselves as emanations from our perspective, but it really is just one with him. Whereas the revelation at Sinai lasted only a short time, the revelation in the future will be permanent. Through this ascent of the Klipot Noga, uh, um, shimmering, the shimmering kind of translucent shell, the Noga is like a shimmering light, even though it's trapped in the Klipa. This type of Klipa. Through this ascent of Klipot Noga to holiness, the three unclean klipa will be utterly annihilated and nullified. So when we uplift that Shekhinah, that spark, that shimmer that is in the things that are derived from this Klipot Noga, we rescue the Noga, or I don't know if I want to say we rescue the Noga, but that life that is in this Klipot Noga. When we rescue it and we ascend it back to holiness, the unclean klipot can no longer feed off of it. So I've been using this as an example because ants have been so bad this year. But ants are derived from these three unclean klipot. It's not that they're bad, they just have that purpose. And they are meant to eat all the holiness, basically, that is misplaced. And so if I have a bunch of honey, instead of using the honey for a godly purpose, and I just become lazy. And I know this sounds like I'm being hard on myself, but it's true. Like it really is true, which is if I don't use this honey properly, or if I misplace this honey, the souls that are from the unclean klipot are going to come and devour it, and they're going to keep spreading. They're going to get more and more powerful. So it's up to me as a human being to take that klipot noga and put it in a proper vessel and to put it where it needs to be by ascending it to holiness. There are certain non-Jews called Hasidei Umot Ha'olam, the kind ones of the peoples of the world. They can have this ascension too. The souls of the animal souls, the Nefesh Behemot, the animal souls of Yisrael, are naturally in this Klipot Noga state, this holy potential, this state of a holy this potential state of holiness. And it's through the Torah and mitzvahs that they inherited from their forefathers and their ancestors and the like. It gets basically pushed on them to elevate to this holiness. However, there are also some people within the nations, so to speak, the Umot HaOlam, the peoples of the concealment. Why do I say concealment? Because it's very well known in Hasidus that the Ha'olam is similar in Hebrew to the word helem, which means concealment. So the world, in English, the world is also concealments. It's what conceals Hashem. So the peoples of the world, the peoples of that concealment, some of them derive from this Klipot Noga as well, just like Israel. But like Yisrael, they don't inherit the Torah. Rather, that person, it's like a test almost. Like, do you have what it takes in the wild as you're going through these unclean klipot to rise above? So it really is. It's like a test. And I'm not talking about getting to heaven or some of these other things that we've learned about, like in Western culture. We're just talking about our daily life, which seems hard. It seems hard for us. But it's good to know that this is what Hashem wants from us. And this is our place. Like everyone, even Yisrael has this place of trying to ascend their the good aspect of Klipot Noga. And when we do that, we're taking the life force away from the unclean klipot that suckle off, they feed off of the holy sparks of the Klipot Noga. For the nurture and vitality which they now receive from holiness comes to them only by way of Klipot Noga, the intermediary between them. Klipot Noga, containing both good and evil, is the medium through which these klipot, which are completely evil, they talk about the gimel, the shlish, shlosh klipot hatameo, the completely impure klipot. Okay. That's the medium through which these three klipot, these three evil klipot, um, are. Let me just read it. Klipot Noga contains both good and evil. Is the medium. So the Klipot Noga is the medium through which these klipot, those impure klipot, which are completely evil, receive their vitality from godliness, which is completely good. So the vitality that is from godliness is completely good. But the three completely impure klipot, they feed off of that goodness that is in the klipot noga. So let me give you an example. Raccoons are from, as I know they're cute and cuddly, people feed them and stuff, but man, if you have livestock or yeah, like we have chickens, they will eat your chickens. Chickens are from Klipot Noga. Um, Raccoons are from the Gimel, the Shlosh Klipot Tameot, the completely impure. Their job, their job is to feed off of the noga, the misplaced noga. We, as human beings, are supposed to be taking care of the klipot noga by putting it in its proper place, using wisdom, gained knowledge from the Torah to do things with it, put the klipot noga in its place. And so things that derive from klipot noga are things like kosher animal souls. So chickens, certain, livestock, ourselves. If you are truly kind and you're from Hasidei Umot Ha'olam, then you can be elevated as well. And so there's mitzvot for us, our bodies. There's mitzvot for the things around us. That's how important and powerful the Torah and mitzvot are. It follows, therefore, that the purpose of the Messianic era and of the resurrection, namely the revelation of his glory and divinity and the banishment of the spirit of impurity from the earth, is entirely dependent on our drawing down his godliness in the blessed Ein Sof light upon all the 248 limbs of the vital soul of all Yisrael. For by way of the vital soul, all the world will be suffused with godliness. And this is achieved by the vital soul's performance of all 248 positive mitzvot. So, this was a lot here. So, the human being has 613 parts. There's 248 limbs, and there's 365 muscles, sinews, vessels, blood vessels, like the red parts. These are the white parts, the bones of the limbs, excuse me. All of Yisrael, because they are the pinimiut of the Torah, they are commanded to do 613 mitzvot, 365 negative, 248 positive. This is what he's talking about here, though, and which is the positive mitzvah, the positive mitzvahs, which elevate the klipot noga into holiness. It's an action. When the person does tzedakah properly, when they're really knowing it, let's use Yisrael, of course, as an example. When this Yisrael is doing a mitzvah properly, they are elevating that life force that is in the klipot noga to holiness. And once they put in it's put in the proper place, then the gimel klipot tameot, the shlosh klipot tameot, the three completely impure klipot, those forces can't get a hold unless the person messes up and they don't do what's proper with the klipot noga. Just think of it as kosher food. Just think of it in the context of kosher food, because kosher food is derived from klipot noga. And this purpose is also dependent on our banishing the spirit of impurity, i.e., the three impure klipot from the vital soul of all Yisrael. For by being banished from the vital soul, the spirit of impurity is banished from the entire world. So how do we banish something? So there's actively doing something, like for something, like taking hold of it and bringing it in, so to speak. And then there's the aspect of pushing something away. Okay, so you have the right side of Hesed, and then you have the left side of Gevura, strength and separation. This is the purpose, also dependent on our banishing the spirit of impurity. Okay, and this is accomplished by the vital soul's observance of all 365 prohibitive mitzvot, thus preventing its 365 blood vessels from drawing nurture from the spirit of impurity. So this is very important. Now, doctor or a biologist can get in here and say, "Oh, there's not 365." That's fine. This is we're talking on a different level, and maybe even both levels here. It's just we're not just spiritual. We're not talking about things that are just in the physicality. Um, why is it that suffusing the vital soul with the Ein Sof light and banishing the impure klipo from the vital soul produces a parallel effect on the entire world? For the community of Yisrael, comprising 600,000 particular souls, is the general source of vitality for the world as a whole, since the world was created for the sake of these souls. Each specific one of them contains, and to each is related, the vitality of 1/600,000th part of the entire world. And when you read Ha'olam, you can see it's like, oh, we're talking about concealments here. This part of the world depends on his vital soul for its elevation to God through the vital soul's elevation. This means that one elevates his portion of the world by his partaking of this world. Oh, I wish James was here. He didn't say he was coming or not, because he would, I think I'll have to send him a link to this as we were having this conversation. But so everybody's placed in this world. Like, I'm in Indiana, a little town in Indiana. You guys might be spread over different towns, right? And you're not in Indiana, not in Terre Haute, anyways. But anyways, so I'm in Little Terre Haute, and could
We're
I
in five,
move to
five states.
say
We're
that
in
again?
five states. We're in five different states.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so it's like, okay, so you come to Torah and you're like, oh, a lot of us maybe thought initially, like, oh, I got to convert, right? I have to convert and I have to move to a big city and I have to go to like one of the two or three that have a base in for conversion. And they might make me get divorced or whatever. And then I can be Jewish. And that's kind of like a really simple, maybe even wrong view, right, of the way what Garrus is. Um, but the reality is, what does Torah say? Every single person. Well, let me say this: where he's talking about Yisrael here, but he will further go on to say in other parts of Hasidus that the 600,000 souls are a composite of the many souls of all of Yisrael, all Jews throughout the world, and the like. And I would even venture to say that Hasidei Umot Olam and even non-accepted Ger Toshav and the like, I would think are included here. Not that the Jews recognize you, not that Yisrael will recognize you today, but I do believe that people out there like that exist. And if they exist, then that means they're going to be comprised of this. Why? Because the Hasidei Umot Olam, the kind ones of the peoples of the world, that the people that are still in that concealment, they are the skin of Adam, and Yisrael is Adam. So Hasidei Umot Olam are part of the body of Adam. It's the exterior parts, the externalities, which makes a lot of sense because a lot of the Hasidei Umot Olam, they're still involved in non-Torah type things. They have, this good potentiality. They have this good in them, but they're just unaware. and we need to become aware. So this means that one elevates his portion of the world by his partaking of this world for the requirements of his body and vital soul in the service of God. So you can be in Texas, you can be in Indiana, you can be I don't know where everybody's from, but I know Mercy's like in the South, and
Let's see, we have North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, Texas, Indiana.
oh, there you go, very cool. So we don't have to move to a big city. We don't have to convert or whatever. Now, if you want to be accepted by Israel, absolutely, because we don't want to impose, like, we don't want to force ourselves on others or communities, right? But what this is saying is our little worlds that Hashem put us in, we can look at the things around us and we can try and elevate those things in ourselves. For example, eating, drinking, and the like, one's dwelling and all his utensils. So everyone here has these things. We can elevate those things. But surely there are more than 600,000 souls besides. It is quite impossible for one person to use a 600,000th of the entire world. These 600,000 particular souls, however, are roots. They're shorishim, sharashim, and like a root from which grows numerous branches, each root soul subdivides into 600,000 sparks, each spark being one neshama. Similarly, with the nefesh and ruach in each of the four worlds, Atzilut, Bariya, Yetzirah, and Asiya, in each of these four worlds are found all three soul levels, nefesh, ruach, and neshama. So that'd be a total of 12, wouldn't it? Each spark did not descend into this world to perfect itself, but to perfect the body and vital soul, as the Alter Rebbe will soon conclude. So he's kind of saying this almost as in it's new, but he's went over this before. So in other places in Hasidus. So the spark, which is truly a part of Hashem directly, like without any concealment from our perspective, they're not traveling down here to perfect themselves, those sparks. Their sole purpose is to berur and rectify the animal soul. So this godly soul, when it comes down, its sole purpose is to rectify, to berur, to refine the nefesh behemot, the animal soul, which is what enlivens our bodies. Um, Having touched upon the subject of the soul's descent, however, he adds a parenthetical comment emphasizing the magnitude of this descent. On entering this world, a soul may perhaps attain the loftiest heights of love and fear of God that are experienced by a perfect tzaddik, a righteous person.
Did you go away for a little
I
bit?
did, like it conked out for
I was like, he's getting to the good stuff. He's talking about the Nitzotzot.
yeah, very good. I'm glad you guys are excited. I don't
No,
know.
it's like cut it off in the mid-sentence, didn't it?
Android webcam. Um, Device connected. I don't think you guys want to see me that bad, but maybe if I can disconnect it. I think somebody told me once I think Dixie said it's better if I show my face. Let's see here.
James, is he going to touch on how the Netzotzot descended into this world?
Um, does he do it? Well, which ones?
Are these Netzotzot only in the soul of the Nefesh or the Neshama, or is it in everything that's been created?
Really good question.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'll let you go and keep moving
Yeah.
forward. Maybe we'll find out.
Yeah, I think we will because I don't want to because if he's going where I think he's going, he's talking about the animal soul versus the godly soul. And
Okay.
I think the Nitzot Sot here he's talking about is the godly soul.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. So that's an excellent
Okay.
question, and I guess we'll just keep going and see. I'm
Okay.
actually
Sounds good.
surprised that he's mixing in more Kabbalistic terms with Hasidus here, which is fine. I mean, but it's just this chapter has been kind of a new break from what we're used to with him. So we'll see here.
Right. Right. That's what I thought too.
Yeah,
Okay.
good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Um, Sorry guys, I had like a little hiccup with my internet. Are we still recording? Yes. Okay. On entering this world, a soul may perhaps. Okay. Um, though it
Having
is in.
up on the subject, I think is where you got off.
Where was this, Teresa?
Right there on those comments, having touched upon the subject of the soul's descent.
Yes, okay, I'll reread this. Having touched upon the subject of the soul's descent, however, he adds a parenthetical comment emphasizing the magnitude of this descent. On entering this world, a soul may perhaps attain the loftiest heights of love and fear of God that are experienced by a perfect Sadiq. But even this cannot compare to the love and fear that it experienced while in the spiritual worlds before its descent. So we're talking about the Nefesh Elokis soul, which is the godly soul, which is truly a part of Hashem. Though it is indeed a great descent, a veritable exile for the soul. Okay, so now we are talking about going into a klipa, which would be into the Nefesh Behemoth, the animal soul. For even it becomes in this world a perfect Sadiq, serving God with fear and delighting in an abounding love of Him. It will not attain to the quality of its attachment to God with fear and love that the soul experienced prior to its descent into this corporeal world, nor even to a fraction of its earlier fear and love. In fact, there is no comparison or similarity whatsoever between them, between the love and fear of God experienced by a soul on earth and that of the soul above. For as is obvious to every intelligent man, the body could not bear, etc., love and fear of such intensity as the soul experienced above in the spiritual realms. Having concluded his comment on the formidable nature of the soul's descent, the Alter Rebbe returns to his original point. The descent of the soul is not for its own sake. So he's talking about the godly soul, I believe. But it's descent into this world to be clothed in a body and vital soul is for the sole purpose of perfecting them. This is what we were talking about earlier.
Wait, wait, just for 1 second here.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're talking about a love and a fear of Hashem before we descended here, the Nitzotzot, before it descended here, but it was in a supernal state at one time.
Yes, because it is truly united one with Hashem.
So when it comes here, it's in its supernal state.
Yes.
When it comes here, it's being perfected even more than the supernal state.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it changes at all. But it can it because it's in well, and I'm saying this with reservation of just I think that's what I'm saying, not what the Alter Rebbe is saying. But from what I've read, the godly soul doesn't get affected at all. If, for instance, if a person chooses to do something wrong, like an avera, a sin, the nefesh elokis, the godly soul, doesn't become blemished. Rather, it goes into exile, if that makes sense. And I don't know if I'm able to answer your question or if that
Oh,
answered
so
your
it's
question.
so to go into exile is like a place of protection.
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's the
okay,
job of the klipa.
Would
okay,
that be,
okay.
And who's
uh,
abusing it? It's us. Like we are the ones who are abusing the godly soul by, well, we're trying to use its energy to feed our animal soul, like if that makes sense. So
It makes sense, yeah.
yeah.
so James, would that be the souls that the Shekinah has?
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it's talking about, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good, 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 good.
Yeah, and those souls can't be corrupted, even though people try to. They feed off of them or whatever because God is abundant, but they can't be actually affected like themselves. They just go into exile, but it's exile from our perspective. It's not an exile from Hashem's perspective because everything is truly one with Him. So it's more or less like from our perspective, and we're just not doing the right things here in this world with those things. And it's up to us. That's where the perfection comes in. It's the perfection comes in the lower souls, the nefesh behemot, and our bodies and things like that. These lower worlds have to be refined, and we use the nefesh elokis to do that.
It's,
Um,
it's kind
Okay,
of
I
like,
understand.
it's kind of like they're suckling on your fingertips, and you say the special prayer and clean your after Shabbat.
That's right. That's right.
oh
Okay.
yeah. Or when you wake up, even too, like
Yeah, when you wake
some,
up.
Wash it off. You got
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah,
I'm understanding this better now. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So so this nefesh elokis, this godly soul, and that spark that you get, particularly Yisrael, I should say, but its descent into this world to be clothed in a body and a nefesh elokis, he calls it a vital soul. He's kind of been changing up the vernacular here this chapter. For the whole earlier portion of the Tanya, he would have called this the nefesh behemoth, the animal soul. He's starting to call this now the vital soul, the enlivening soul, or whatever you want to call it. So that nefesh elokis is received, and its sole purpose, and it sits in your seichel. It sits in your seichel. It sits in the right part of your brain, of your heart. And its sole purpose, though, is to basically tell the nefesh behemoth what to do for its own good. And its sole purpose is to perfect, is to berur, refine this nefesh behemoth, this animal soul, the emotive attributes, the emotive traits, which is probably why it's talking about love and fear here, because you will not be able to experience. We're trying to get there. Um, so the sole purpose of that nefesh elokis is the purpose of perfecting the vital soul to separate them from the evil of the three impure klipot. So think of that Shekhinah, that Nefesh Elokis, that holy spark. It descends and it gets thrown into the dogs, like literally, it gets thrown to the dogs. And it's up to us to stop throwing stuff to the dogs, and two, to rescue the stuff from the dogs. So our job is to separate them from the evil of the three impure klipot by observing the 365 prohibitions and their offshoots, i.e., by observing the biblical and rabbinic prohibitions. Now I want to emphasize I've been saying us because when I say us, Every human being is made in the image of Hashem. There are 613 parts to everybody. Okay, we're not Yisrael, but nonetheless, like this is still Shayak. This still seems to be connected to us as human beings. And every human being has this potential. Let's put it that way, right? I don't want to get too like forceful with you guys because I don't do all 613 or whatever. It's like I'm still learning and growing, hopefully. But I just don't want to like put you guys on the spot. But anyways, just grow at your own pace. Just keep growing no matter what. Just do your utmost. Do your utmost, right? And to elevate his vital soul, together with the portion of the world at large that relates to it. So, in your portion of the world, do your utmost, do what you can. Um, Binding and uniting them with the Ein Sof light, which he draws into them by performing all the 248 positive mitzvot through the agency of the vital soul. So do the prohibitions. Don't let the forces suckle you off, basically. Like don't try to keep your life force from seeping out into the impure forces. And then with the forces, with the things that can be elevated, then act upon those and do the positive mitzvahs. Since the vital soul is the one that performs all the mitzvot involving action, as explained above in chapter 36. Excuse me. That the divine soul can activate the body is very important. The divine soul, the Nefesh Elokis, can activate the body, the goof, in performance of the mitzvot only by way of the Nefesh Behemot, the animal soul. So the animal soul, this is very interesting, guys. So intermediaries are forbidden, but we do have an intermediary we have to work with. And what is it called? It's called our Nefesh Behemot, our animal soul. Like we have to. And so if we have to use not an intermediary to get to Hashem, heaven forbid, but we have to use this intermediary for our goof, the body, and the physical things of this world. So we have to tell the Nefesh Behemot what to do. And this is really interesting because we're seeing how Hashem has to do things, which is crazy, like sounding. From a non-Jewish perspective, I would say 100% of my life, it was always the opposite, right? It was always trying to try to find Hashem and figure things out, try to get to Hashem because I didn't even know the name. I didn't even know Hashem. But now Hashem's like teaching you how to do the opposite. Oh, he's like, okay, you know me a bit. Now start to do goodness in the world, which is profound. Very, very profound. We have so many people that are like trying to find God. And here, God is basically saying, hey, you found me. Here's my Torah. Start revealing me and start doing these things. So this is a very big deal. This is very profound. And he's saying you have an intermediary. This is a whole another. He's not talking about Shitu for something like that, but nonetheless he's talking about using this Nefesh Behemot. It is likewise written in Etz Chaim Portal 26 that the divine soul itself does not need perfecting at all. So mercy. I don't know if you listen to this, but this is what I was trying to point out, not very well, unfortunately, but that divine soul itself does not need perfecting at all. It's already perfect.
That's awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
for saying that.
yeah, you're welcome. What happens is it rests on your seichel, it rests on your intellect. When you are, sorry, I don't mean to say you. I'm not really talking direct like that. But for
I
me,
get
like,
it.
yeah, okay. When you're studying Torah, when I'm studying Torah, when you grasp a concept in Torah and you really get it, uh, the Alter Rebbe is saying that you are understanding the wisdom of Hashem there. You are uniting that portion of your brain or whatever. You're uniting with Hashem when you do that. And you're welcoming in that Nefesh Elokis, that godly soul. That portion will never change. And even if you forget it or whatever, it's not that you affect it, it just goes makif. It just goes it's not forgetting is the right word, but it goes in exile, so to speak. Um, yeah, you put it in exile, and you start to abuse your nefesh behemoth. You start to misuse it or whatever, and so um, and there is no need for it to be embodied and for it to be embodied in this world in a body and vital soul, except this is very important, except to draw down light to perfect them, the vital soul and the body. So it doesn't need anything. It doesn't need to do this. It doesn't need to be perfected. The only reason why Hashem sends it down here is to vitalize, is to make things good, basically, to elevate things, to put things in their proper space. And this goes, if you think of things like this in the whole realm of Torah, like this just goes in every single iteration that we read, every single story in the Torah, all the things we read, all the way back to Adam in the garden and things like our sole purpose is to put things where they're supposed to be.
So,
Adam.
James,
Hmm.
if I'm understanding this by what you're saying, it's kind of like a spark plug. Without the spark, there's not enough energy pushed forward to grasp the wisdom. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, yeah. So so our nefesh behemoth has a brain. Our
Right.
nefesh behemoth enlivens our goof brain, I should say. When we use that, apart from a godly soul, let's not let's say the godly soul, we don't have one yet. Say we're an akum.
Okay.
Say we are an akum, and in Avodah Zarah it says an akum that is oisek in Torah is like the Kohen Gadol. Now you're starting to think on that a bit. So you have an Akum. He does not have an Nefesh Elokis. He starts to study the laws of Avodah Zarah in the Torah, though. Never did it before, but man, he's really interested in this, and he really loves this. And he's studying how not to be an Akum. And he's studying the laws of Avodah Zarah, and he's studying deeply, and he loves it. He's studying the wisdom of Hashem. It appears to me from what the mechanics of the Alter Rebbe is describing is that that person is starting to bring down that Nefesh Elokis.
But it doesn't it seem that without the Nitzotzo, that Nefesh Elokis would not then be activated?
That's what it is, I believe. He's
Okay.
revealing it. He's revealing it. When I say it's coming down, and maybe it should be better be said that it's being revealed.
Wow,
Like,
fascinating.
yeah, it's like
Okay.
a revelation. And here's my little chidush. Why is that such a person like a Cohen Gadol? Because he's bringing that spark. He's revealing, just like the Cohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. He does this thing in the Holy of Holies, and it's a I dare say magical because it's not magic, but it's a momentous, like it's got to be a out of this world experience.
Right.
So when when an idolater is starting to understand Hashem and Torah, I would think that's a very similar experience.
Ah,
And it's
very good.
exactly. And I think so. Yisrael is a microcosm of what we as human beings are supposed to be experiencing internally. And
Okay.
that's the seat. It's the seat, I forget what they call it, but the seat of the holies or whatever. It's like it's where your brain is meeting that godly soul. So your nefesh behemoth, your animal soul, is enlivening your body to study Torah, because that's what brains do. They study things. But when you study Torah, now you are bringing like a gateway. You're revealing godliness. You're revealing godliness in actual consciousness, and you're revealing godliness in the world, in your brain. Very similar to like the Shekhinah rests in between the Keruvim and things like this. What are the cherubs? What are the Keruvim? These are the angels that are enlivening. They are what make the klipot and the animal souls. So when that thing happens between them, it appears to me this is all symbolic of what's really going on. And I'm not saying it's not really going on there as well, but what's going on in your brain, because that's the seat. That's where the divine presence rests. That's where the Nefesh Elokis rests. It rests on your seichel, on your intellect. Um, and I'm not saying I got this all figured out, but I mean, this is kind of what seems to be the model here. In other words, Yisrael, they're one of their divine purposes, if not it's the whatever, but is to be that model of holiness. How does the internalities, the pinimiut, how does the internalities work with Hashem, which is our pinimiut, our inner being? And it's literally an inner space, um, prolapsed out. So all the mechanics of the temple, for instance, those are angelic forces and things. But what are those angelic forces as well? Those are the things that derive the nefesh behemoth, our animal souls. So it's like a expose, so to speak, on ourselves. And that's what it says. Yisrael is a priestly nation. That is what it is. They're trying to guide us. They are the priests in order to guide us on how all this spirituality work. How does physicality work? And it's really amazing. So the Alter Rebbe here is describing this godly soul and how it interacts physically in your world today. And so, like I said, like for instance, tzedakah, read the laws of tzedakah and go do them. And you are literally revealing godliness in the world when you are properly doing tzedakah. And any of these mitzvahs that we can do. If you have animals, follow the laws of the Torah laws for animals and the like. You're revealing godliness in the world. And every single one of the mitzvot has this connection to your body, because there's 613 mitzvot. There's also 613 parts of your body internally, and those have conduits to these mitzvahs. So when you perform them, you're channeling and you're revealing godliness through all those 613 channels, which are the blood vessels and sinews and bones in your body. Your heart, which is the seat of the animal soul, when your nefesh Elokis, your godly soul, which rests on your brain, tells your animal soul what to do. You are now uniting these worlds. You're now uniting the name of Hashem. You're taking this upper thing that is one with Hashem, the Nefesh Elokis, and now you're uniting, and almost like a priest or something, with the Nefesh Behemoth. And now you're able to uplift all these things and make them ascend and unify the things that should be ascending to Hashem. This is so profound, and this is what the Torah and the mitzvot are. This is why they're so important. And it's so important for every human being on whatever level they are on to study the Torah, because we're literally fixing, we're repairing the world, we're rectifying, we're berur, like sifting and extracting all these sparks that fell from the beginning before creation. They fell into various vessels and mundane things, and they're trapped there. It's up to us to try and rescue those sparks and make them ascend to holiness. Now that sounds like a tough job for a non-Jew, but the truth is we can all start somewhere. Why? Because if not, you're just going to have to go back and clean it up again. So you might as well just pick up the pieces where you are. You don't have to run away to a big city and convert or whatever. You're going to have to come back and clean up the spark. Somebody is. You might as well be you. I think that a lot when I'm being lazy. Like, oh man, I can do this tomorrow. I don't want to look at my work truck. It's a mess, and I'll just do it another time. And then I think, oh, you know what? No, this is the actual time. This is the time where I need to be, cleaning whatever it is. And I'm not saying my work van's clean right now, but I'm just saying there are times when I'm like, hey, James, you need to be cleaning this up now because and my point is that's how I view like where I am like physically. Like I don't need to run off and do something. There's things to be done here. And that's why I talk a lot about, I guess, people's understandings of conversion and the like. It's like you don't have to run off, you don't have to run away. Hashem is everywhere. It's our job to reveal Hashem everywhere, and there's things to do here. Um, so, anyways, um, oh, here we go. Wow, look at this. Uh, Okay, so the nefesh elokis, the godly soul, it's drawn down. It says drawn down, but it's really like revealed, right? Except to draw down light to perfect them. Talking about the nefesh behemoth, the vital soul, and the body, the goof. So people might get confused. The nefesh behemoth is not the goof. It is not the body. The nefesh behemoth, the animal soul, is what enlivens the body. It's what enlivens our body. It is not the actual body itself. And this parallels exactly the mystery of the exile of the Shekhinah. Very important, guys. We talked about this a little bit, but man, let's see. Teresa, I'm a step ahead of you here. I'm going to read a
I
footnote.
see that.
You're wearing off on me here. In a good way though, right? You're teaching me.
Wait, the tidbits that are in footnotes sometimes are just
Oh
out.
yeah, and I'm glad you pointed out because I'm a bit scatterbrained of a person. The Rebbe explains how the mystery of the exile of the Shekhinah relates to the subject at hand. On the surface, the soul's descent into this world and it's the rabbis in English who did this. So, and it's concomitant. I never heard of that word before.
Mm.
Concomitant suffering is truly inexplicable. So the soul, the nefesh behemoth, nefesh elokis is kind of suffering, right? Or not kind of, it is. But when it's in exile down here, like we have to rescue it. The soul is an entity which is truly a part of God above, emanating as it does from supernal wisdom, which is wholly at one with God Himself. That such a holy being should descend into this world merely to rectify the vitalizing soul and the body, whose source is in Klipat Noga. So he's talking about Yisrael here. Well, he'd be talking about Hasidim Otolam here, but not all human beings are from this Klipat Noga. Only certain people. So that strains the bounds of credulity. For even after the divine soul completely rectifies them, as in the divine service of a consummate tzaddik. So a tzaddik, fully rectifies these things. The body is still unable to harbor the same love of God which the soul felt prior to its descent. Hmm. Why then did the soul descend into this world? This is like an age-old question. We'll see if this is one for the memory books here. The Alter Rebbe addresses this question. So this is like an answer, a life answer, a life question, right? Writes that the Rebbe, by stating that the soul's descent parallels exactly the mystery of the exile of the Shekhinah, whose purpose is to refine the sparks of holiness which fell into the klipot. We shall soon learn that the Shekhinah is the source of the divine soul. Okay, so it's the source. It's not the divine soul, but it's the source. The Shekhinah is the source of the divine soul. It's very important. Furthermore, all things found within this world were created from the sparks of holiness, including the body and the vitalizing soul.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That explains my question.
Okay.
All things found within this world were created from the sparks of holiness, the nitzotzot. All things, that's everything in creation, was created with nitzotzot.
That's what he's saying.
Wow. I thought it was just a human thing, but now I'm like going,
Yeah.
that maybe explains why I was having such a good time on my morning walk.
Well, yeah, you look at nature,
Mhm.
and you can see the things that are meant to be
Mm-hmm.
elevated.
Well, okay, just for example, two dragonflies and how they danced in the air.
Hmm.
How they danced in the air. They flittered about and danced in the air before me, and I just stood there and watched them, mesmerized
Hmm.
by why even Hashem would bother with those two,
Hmm. Yeah,
you
it's
know,
really cool
and then
though.
realizing that Hashem was in those two, but now I'm understanding the Netzotzot
I mean,
aspect of it. Wow, very cool. Very, very cool.
yeah, the Nitzot, so when they fell, certain
Mm.
things, the things that were the loftiest fell the furthest because they had the most power. So it's like they got slingshotted the most, so to speak. They got, you know, so yeah, when you understand how Hashem is in all of creation, you look at creation just differently. That's an amazing story.
That's for sure because one of the things that I I was really profounded by was the fact that these things were hovering in the air, right?
Hmm.
And I thought about that and I thought, Hashem, that you would desire to hover in the air like that is just amazing to me. I want to hover in the air.
Yeah.
And I can't only do that in a helicopter, right?
Uh,
I I have to use things that have been made from Earth to be able to do that. I man-made things. I can't go in and do something like that because Hashem didn't design me to do that
hmm.
as of yet.
Ah,
You know what I mean? None of us can do that as of yet, right? So,
yeah. It also kind of right.
mm.
And like
Oh,
when
and
you
that,
think of the forms, like Yetzirah, okay, well then how are we different? Why did Hashem form us that way? Our way compared to those things.
mhm, mhm. That's good. That's a good point too. Oh, and that one word that you started to read out, concomitant,
Yes.
means to associate with,
Oh,
like
okay.
the pairing up of something. So,
Hmm.
like, uh, I don't know how else to say it, putting cream with coffee, or
Yeah,
uh, a sickness manifested because of a spiritual thing or stress related, whatever, something that pairs up together,
yeah,
associated with each other.
right.
Make
Like
Right.
sense?
Oh
paragraph
yeah.
before that, it's with the Sadiq,
Oh yeah, very
the
good.
divine
Right,
service.
right. Very good. Um, uh, okay. Whose purpose is to refine the sparks of holiness which fell into the Klipot. Am I going too? Did I go too far? Later. We shall soon learn that the Shekinah is the source of the divine soul. Okay, yes. Furthermore, all things found within this world were created from the sparks of holiness, including the body and the vitalizing soul. Very important. Hence the parallel. The soul, whose source is the Shekhinah, descends into this world to refine the body and vitalizing soul, whose source is the holy sparks. And just as the exile of the Shekhinah is deemed a mystery, for its descent defies logic, so too is the soul's descent into the body and vitalizing soul a mystery. It defies mortal reason.
Well, that's pretty cool. Defies mortal reason.
Yes, it's one of those things like, why did Hashem create things, or why does Hashem do what he does?
Mm-hmm.
I could give my 2 cents, but I don't know a way to know that.
Right. That's good. Hmm.
I would think it's to unify. Like, how far away can I throw something and to see if it's truly, I don't know.
How far does the apple fall from the tree?
Yeah.
Wow, that was quite a footnote.
Yeah. Yeah. That was profound.
Wow.
And this parallels exactly the mystery of the exile of the Shekhinah, whose purpose is to refine the sparks of holiness which fell into the Klipot. And we're talking about the Nitzot Sot that fell, I'm assuming, before Bereshit's, what is that, 36, the kings of Edom.
The eight
And
kings.
say that again.
The eight kings.
Yeah, yeah, eight, or is it eight?
Yes. Seven without wives, and the eighth one has a
And
wife.
the eighth one survived. So
Yeah.
too does the divine soul enter into exile within the body and vital soul in order to perfect them and to extract from the sparks of holiness which they contain. The foregoing discussion enables us to understand the particular virtue of mitzvot performed through action. Creation and the soul's descent into the body were both intended for the purpose of elevating the body and the vital soul, and thereby the entire world. Because there's other things outside your body that can be elevated too. But I think what he's saying is, through Torah and mitzvot, you engage your body to not only affect your body, but the world around you. Moreover, this objective is reached primarily through the mitzvot, involving action, as much as these mitzvot are performed by the body and vital soul. These mitzvot are therefore of primary importance. So it's not cliche. You'll hear people say, "Oh, it's about Torah and mitzvahs." Torah and mitzvahs. It's not a cliche, even though people say it so much. But this really is like the program. It's the executions of the program. In light of the above, where it was explained that the distinctive quality of the active mitzvot lies in their elevating effect on the body and vital soul. So we can understand why our sages so greatly extolled the virtue of charity, declaring it equal to all the other mitzvot together, which is very important, particularly where we are as non-Jews, right? In all of the Jerusalem Talmud, charity is called simply the commandment, for such was the idiomatic expression commonly used to refer to charity, the commandment. It doesn't even say the mitzvah, just mitzvah. So it even in the Hebrew, it even lends it like so the English doesn't really do justice with the Hebrew here. Um, when we think the commandment, we think of there's other commandments and there's the commandment. And the Hebrew mitzvah here is just saying mitzvah alludes to all the mitzvot are contained in the mitzvah, which is charity, if that makes sense. Because charity is the core of all the mitzvot of action and surpasses them all. For the purpose of all these mitzvot is only to elevate one's animal soul to God, since it is this vital soul that performs them and clothes itself in them, so as to be absorbed into the blessed Ein Sof light clothed in them. So once you do these, and I would assume that it's only the Yisrael, someone who does all these 613 mitzvot, that are going to be absorbed, their body, basically, right? Their body and their goof are going to be absorbed in this Ein Sof light. So what it appears to me, now you will find no other mitzvah.
Hang on a second,
Yeah.
James. When it says up above, in all of the Jerusalem Talmud, charity is called simply the commandments, for such was the idiomatic expression commonly used to refer to charity, the commandment. So then it says, because charity, or you could say the commandment, is the core of all the mitzvot, the 613 of action, and surpasses them all.
Mm-hmm.
So the commandment is the core, the entirety of it, not just the 613 separated out. All
Yeah.
of them underneath the commandment, the one commandment. It basically the 613 are one. They are echad.
That's what it
They're
seems
not
like he's
separated
saying.
out. Yeah, exactly.
This is the ikr of the mitzvahs, work of the work of the mitzvahs.
Maybe that's why it says mitzvah instead of mitzvot, because it's trying to show us that it's echad.
One, yeah,
It's one.
exactly. That's what I was trying to. You're saying it better than me, but that's what I was trying to say earlier. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You're exactly right. That's what I was like. The commandment. It doesn't say the commandment in the
Right.
Hebrew here. It's just because the English doesn't do as good of a job as expressing itself in the Hebrew here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does that
Um,
make sense?
yeah, that totally makes sense.
Okay.
I think you put it really well.
Okay. That's what it looks like to me. I was like, wait a minute. This is something else. It's an
Yeah.
idiom. It's an
It,
idiom.
it's very
It's
important because the Rambam says B'nai Noach can do charity, can do
right.
tzedakah. It's not just a simple thing. Like when you read when we've been reading this, just in the Hasidus, I start to realize why the Rambam said things that he said. Like, why did he choose tzedakah? Why didn't he choose another mitzvah that B'nai Noach can do?
Right.
And
But when you think of every mitzvah, every single one individually, they're all about giving. You're giving into something. You're giving back to Hashem. You're giving back to the collective of all that He is
mhm,
through action, through deed, through words. You know, so if we look at it that way, when we're returning it back, we're doing it unto another, but we're returning it back to Hashem. So
mhm.
it's double fold. It's not just
Tzedakah
maybe even
specifically.
exactly. It's
Yeah,
not just a giving of charity, like I'm going to give this gift of money to this
yeah,
bar mitzvah or whatever. You know,
yeah.
it's
He
it's
said
it's not like that. This is a whole different concept of charity.
right,
Mhm.
and the Alter Rebbe described that a few chapters previously. He said, "Why is charity the way it is? Why is it
Hmm.
like above all? It's because that person at one time worked and put their whole being into doing that job, which then gave them parnasa, which gave them income.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
when they do that, they're doing their whole being, which is uniting with Hashem, and then they're taking that life that they and they're basically like giving somebody life
Hmm.
because
From
yeah,
their life that Hashem gave them life with.
right,
Uh-huh.
right,
It's the whole bracha thing.
right. Yeah.
Berachot. Okay.
And
Okay.
I agree with you. I think that's excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to see how much farther we got to go here.
Oh, we
Okay.
have about 12 more pages.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to stop, aren't we?
Oh
Oh my
my word.
goodness. This is a huge chapter. Why is this chapter? Because I'm talking too much. Huh?
No, it's like
This
4 pages.
Yeah.
The-
this chapter is like driving through Texas.
Ah,
Takes a while.
let's see, there's a
That
place
is
where we
good.
can. Oh, yeah. It basically
This
goes on
part
to say what I was just saying.
that after or this part that we were just talking about is so profound, like Mercy was saying, is because charity is the core of all mitzvot of action and suppresses them all. But when you're being told, well, all you can do is charity, you think that it's the lowliest thing,
Yeah.
not that it's the greatest.
Yeah.
And that's a great point too, Teresa. That's really good. Mm, that's good.
It's a good point. Hmm. I think we're going to stop there. I think that was a good place to stop.
Okay.
Teresa and Mercy did a good job. So, well, with that, guys, it's
Well,
late.
you did a good job reading tonight. That's a lot to read.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, thank you guys all for joining in, studying, and I really do appreciate it. I look forward to this class every week. So,
Yeah.
James Jeremy left a little chat note. Anyway,
oh,
he
okay.
just drop out.
Oh, he had to leave. Yep, yep. Okay.
Thank
So,
you, James.
oh yeah, thank you, Ernestine. I appreciate you.
Thank
Appreciate you
Uh,
you.
too.
yeah, I'm gonna